Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Green. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Green is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.
This is Karl McKinnie, and this is the Sharkpreneur podcast, and I co-host with Kevin Harrington and Seth Green. Today, we have a great interview lined up for you. We have Erik Wolf from estound. Am I pronouncing that correct? Is it estound or estound?
You know, I generally say astound, but I don't correct people who say estound. I'm okay with it.
Well, you're the CEO and founder, so it's estound.
Fair enough.
It's your show today, and let's get started. So,
Excellent.
Erik, tell me, I have a couple notes here I wanted to take a look at, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the first question, let me ask you, how do you help business leaders improve the understanding of marketing? My company's in marketing a little bit too, and it seems to be even the best of businessmen occasionally think, well, we just got to sell. Well, marketing is a part of or a precursor to being able to sell to people. And how do you help business leaders improve the understanding of that?
Well, so first of all, what we really try to, I would say the first and most important thing that we try to do is break a bad habit. Because typically when people say, well, we're going to work on marketing and we're going to invest in marketing, a lot of times they've already got the next thing lined up. It's so we're hiring this SEO agency and we're going to redo the website. And by the way, we're getting a billboard by the highway. And so we just sort of jump to conclusions and jump to solutions on things. And that's a really, really bad habit because it sets us up for disappointment on day one. Because if we don't choose the things that we're doing with a lot of intentionality, the results are going to be similarly unintentional and probably unimpressive. And so the first thing that we do is we try to break that habit. We try to get people to slow down, and we try to get them to think about their customer. Because at the end of the day, when no matter what it is that your business does or what it is that you sell, what ultimately drives our success is our ability to connect with our customers. And so adopting a market focus and really connecting with your customers and understanding what they want and need and how your product and service is going to make their lives better, solve their pain, improve their career, all of those things. Every purchase decision is an emotional decision, and we try to get business people.
I totally agree with that. And I noticed you said something about getting them to slow down, which would lend towards a long-term growth strategy. So what's your approach to building long-term growth for your clients?
So the first thing that you have to do is you have to know where you're going. And to say we're going to grow or we want to do this or what is that success really? How are we going to measure it? How are we going to know when we got there? And so the first thing that we typically do with clients, and there are, a million different companies that'll do a version of this in different fields in business consulting, but what's that long-term vision? Where does this company want to be? What's the moonshot vision for what it is that that we're doing. And how are we going to know when we get there? Is it, we're going to grow 5x over the next 7 years, so that we can be acquired by a bigger company and do X, Y, Z. Let's set those goals. Let's understand where it is that we want to go, and let's make sure that we know that we're going to know when we get there. So that's number one. Number two is, like I said, connecting those goals with how we're going to connect them to the marketplace. So how do we connect our goals with the goals of the people we're trying to sell to? And then how the hell are we going to pay for it? Is a is a topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but we talk about quite a bit. What we really look at is ways that businesses can attach, where they can tether the success that they want, and so if we're going to grow 5x over the next 7 years or whatever it is, um, you know, what do the next 12 to 18 months look like? How many new customers do I need?
Okay.
And what's it going to cost me to acquire those customers? Um, because that's really what, when people buy sales and marketing, that's really what they're buying. They're not buying the website. They're not buying the trade show booth. Nobody cares about a trade show booth. We're spending money on those things because essentially what we want to do is we want to buy more customers for ourselves. And so how much is that going to cost us? What does it cost us to acquire every new customer? And then how many customers do we need to acquire to meet our revenue goals? Let's
Great stuff.
let's tie that
So
all together.
one of the things that remains constant is that change happens. So you lay out a plan and something happens and you have a systemic approach and you're really going through the steps. How do you adapt to change?
Like,
How do you work
like
with these
Mike
clients?
Tyson says, the plan goes out the window as soon as you get punched in the face.
There you go.
Um, yeah, change is constant, and change is one of the things that we absolutely cannot avoid. And so one of the things that we preach to our clients, and one of the things that we work on with folks, is understanding, if I've got all of these items that we're working on in our sales and marketing strategy, what we need to be able to do on a weekly and monthly basis is take an honest look at everything and understand, look, if we feel that something is not doing well, we need to assess it, and we need to make changes. But most importantly, and uh, problems happen when people get too reactive. When you start the AdWords campaign, you're a week and a half in, and it's like, oh my God, we haven't gotten any conversions on this AdWords campaign. What the hell are we going to do? For what we try to encourage people to do is, okay, well, let's not be reactive. Let's not cancel anything. Let's not erase the board, but let's keep an eye on it.
Right.
And then as we're keeping an eye on that initiative, and we're looking at the things that are working and the things that aren't working, more importantly than deciding, hey, this hasn't been working the way that we want it to, well, let's actually take a step back and let's see if we can figure out why it isn't working. Where in this process did we make a bad assumption about what was going to happen? Did we set a bad goal? Did we underspend on this advertising? Did we miscalculate what it was going to take to reach our goals? Did we make a bad assumption about what the customer is looking for and what's going to be important to them? Have we made an offer that's compelling? Have we designed the landing page in a way that's going to resonate with that customer? And so really going back and picking up the breadcrumbs, kind of like Hansel and Gretel, and figuring out, hey, where did we make a wrong turn? And what should we actually try to adjust if we want to try to salvage this? Because all too often with that sort of reactive lizard brain, we get scared, and then we decide, okay, well, AdWords doesn't work. And that's not necessarily true. A lot of times it's just the way that we did the AdWords campaign or the way that we did the direct mail campaign or whatever it is that caused the problem. And generally it's because, you know, not because there's much wrong with the initiative, but maybe our expectations were wrong. Maybe we made a bad assumption. Maybe we didn't do our homework about how we should actually structure this campaign in order to make
Okay,
it work.
gotcha. I want to mention that you have an award-winning team, and
I
you've
do.
touched on. Congratulations on that. And
Well, thank
you know what?
you.
It's success comes from the top, so you're leading the right way. And so you've had success there. You've connected with varying markets, different clients, and wherever they are in their stages of business. Can you share some successful examples of revenue growth that
I
from
will, yes.
without being really
Well,
specific?
I will share an example of revenue growth. We had a client
Cool.
uh who and they were recently acquired. And we are and we're not going to be working with the new bigger company we've determined, which is okay. But we had this client for about 10 years, and an IT company based here in Denver. Um, Great team, great company. And they'd never done any real marketing before. They had a really terrific salesperson who was doing a fantastic job of being a sales leader. And and so we came on to help him build his pipeline and drive more revenue. And took us about 2, 3 years, and we had about doubled that that business. And what happened to this particular IT company is that um, around the 2016 presidential election, they ended up in the news because they were the company that was in possession of a very famous email server.
Ah, okay.
And
Interesting.
um, and
Okay.
it was a very interesting case study for what can happen in a public relations disaster. Um, but the really terrific thing was that everything that we had put in place in the 3 years that we were working with them prior helped them survive that, and their revenue um, did about half during that time. The business very nearly didn't make it, but they did make it. And within a year and a half or so, 2 years, they were back to where they were they were before they found themselves in the news. And when they sold, they had doubled again after that.
Wow.
So it's they're a case study, and the thing that I really love about that story is not just the fact that they survived and thrived after being in a very uncomfortable national
I can
spotlight,
imagine. No sound here.
but it's
Oh,
but it's but it showed the value of blocking and tackling and building equity in your marketplace and doing the right things and staying patient and resolute when
and my apologies for the background noise. I just took care of it. I
oh, no
apologize.
worries. Do we
So
have to rough anybody up?
no,
Is it okay?
no, no.
All
We're good. They
right.
understand. Um, yeah, and I have an Aaron Judge ball to show you at the end of the interview here. How do you I digress. Now, it sounds like you guys take great steps in ensuring some lasting and some measurable ROI, even in the face of some disasters. If you hadn't have laid a great foundation, of course, things would have fallen through. Um,
Yes.
I'm not sure you're giving your team enough credit for coming through on that success
Our
story.
team, in in this business, I mean, everything that we do, and people focus on the stuff, people focus on websites and software
Sure.
and at the end of the day, it's people, and I do like to think that it's the fact that we have incredible people that has made us successful. And this year, this upcoming year, 2024, our business turns 18. Old enough to vote, can drive unaccompanied. And we wouldn't be here for that if not for the fact
Yep.
that we've hired and retained for the most part really great people over the years. So yes, our team is fantastic.
Great stuff. Now, you mentioned 18 years. Take me through those 18 years and kind of walk me through some significant changes you've seen in the marketing industry over those 18 years, and give me some foresight. Tell me what do you see coming 5, 6, 7 years down the pipe?
Oh boy. Um, so it I started the business in 2006,
Okay.
and I had this crazy idea that I was going to work with small and mid-sized businesses. And it's very unpopular in the agency world to try to do that. Everybody, and I was when I started the business, I was living in Atlanta, and if you were an agency in Atlanta, you wanted to work with Coca-Cola, you wanted to work with Delta
Imagine.
Airlines, you
Right.
wanted to work with Turner, and and I was like, nah, we're good. Let's work with some smaller companies, some companies that don't have really great representation, that don't have great direction. And it was a really interesting time because in 2006, for a lot of those businesses, and we still work with not necessarily small businesses, but I would say overlooked businesses, folks that are in industries that people don't really talk about much. In 2006, we were building the first websites that a lot of these companies ever had. In 2006, um, any email marketing that we did was almost certainly the company's first foray into email marketing. Um, you know, the the real evolution of search engine optimization happened during that time. The true birth of social media happened during that time. Um, you know, Twitter, Facebook, all of those platforms, Instagram wasn't even a glimmer in somebody's eye at that point. We were, you know, so we have, in essence, grown up with the modern version of marketing. And what we've seen in this modern version of stuff is that the world changed so quickly. Um, we went within about a year from virtually nobody. If you walked into a room full of business people and said, "Hey, folks, raise your hand if you've got an SEO strategy," the first question would have been, "What's SEO?"
Right.
And and then there would have been probably very few hands in the room. Now, I mean, even within a year or two from that point, you could have taken the same poll and everybody would have had a search engine strategy and everybody would be thinking about Google and everybody was thinking about how we use this to get ahead. And we sort of created this very fast moving, very innovative culture of all of these new things, created a lot of sort of magic bullets, and people sort of said, okay, well, all I need to do is start working on this SEO stuff, and then everything is going to go great. Or all I need to do is get HubSpot. My marketing's going to be automated. We're going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. And we kind of created all this stuff, social media, everything was this idea that, man, if there's this one thing out there that's going to change my world. And it turns out that for none of us is there one thing out there that's really going to change our world. It's not going to happen. Just like anything else, you need a portfolio of good solid work in order to have predictable long-term kinds of gains. And so what we've seen finally, I think, is sort of a return to fundamentals, the idea of unified marketing communications, that we can't just say our strategy for growth is search engine optimization, or our strategy for growth is social media. We're going back to saying, okay, there isn't one thing that's going to make everything work for us. We've got to actually have this integrated marketing plan. And so that's coming back, and I think that we're still in the relatively early stages of that. I think that we're going to hear a lot more about integrated marketing communications in years to come, in a way that we haven't probably for a decade or more. And then the other thing that I think is going to happen is that we're going to see a couple of trends, sort of, and I don't know exactly which way it's all going to shake out, but there are a couple of things that are happening right now that we're going to see sort of solidify into something in the next few years. The first one is privacy.
Mm.
In this country especially, um, our internet advertising has been sort of like the Wild West, and there's been very little privacy for the customers, and now we've seen GDPR in Europe. We've seen the California privacy laws, and I think that finally in this country we're going to end up with some sort of best practice regarding privacy. We're probably going to see the death of cookies and a lot of the other technology that's going on there. And I think that customers are going to have more control. But what that means for marketers is that where we had this like sort of golden decade of being able to see everything and
Yeah.
having this incredible window on to what our customers were doing, the shades are going to be drawn a little bit, and we're not going to be able to see as much as we used to. And then the second thing, of
Interesting.
course, is AI. We're just at the beginning of readily available generative AI, and it's going to have an impact on how we market and how companies interact with their customers. It already is having an impact, but that's going to
Oh,
mature into
indeed.
something over over the next few years, and we're going to have, you know just like with everything else, where we've developed with every other kind of marketing and other marketing tools, email, for example. There are things that we're allowed to do with email and that we're not allowed to do. There are things that we're allowed to do but are generally considered bad ideas. There are things that we just don't do under any circumstances. And I think that we're going to see that sort of thing happen with AI, where we're going to have generally accepted practices for it. And I think our awareness of things that are being generated by robots is going to
Right.
be different as well.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And now you've talked about a lot of changes, a lot of things that, have moved forward, altered, and morphed. Um, Tell me the one major consistent challenge that's kind of been that ribbon throughout.
The
One or two.
biggest the biggest challenge, and and tools don't change it, technology doesn't change it. The biggest challenge that business owners have in marketing is their own lack of objectivity. The idea that we're our own worst enemy when we're business owners is absolutely true in a big way when it comes to marketing, because look, I didn't I started my business because I was passionate about delivering certain things to my marketplace. Um, and most people who start businesses or buy businesses, or that they're similar concept. we're generally, and a lot of us are passionate about what we do and the craftsmanship and all of those things. However, the things that I am passionate about as a business owner and the things that my customers need and the things that are driving their purchase decisions are very often different. And it's really easy to hook your marketing into the parts of the business that you're interested in versus the parts of the business that are going to make your customers most interested in buying. I'll tell you a super quick story. Um, we had a client in the telephone expense management industry, um, overlooked clients, low overlooked industries, and they had this, and so the principle of the industry is that telecom is complicated. Businesses get bills for things, and especially think if you're say a doctor's office and you've got 6 different locations. They're all in different counties. We've got different taxes. We've got all of these other codes for charges, which are right, which are wrong. What are we paying for? It's complicated. And so this company came in and they said, well, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to say that if you contract with us to do your telecom expense management, we're going to guarantee you a savings of 10% or something like that in the first year. And if we don't manage to save you at least 10% off of your telecom bills in the first year, then we're going to work for free until we do that. And this was the message they went to market with. They were excited about it. Nobody else is doing this. And so we were going to be working on their branding and their messaging. And so we set up interviews with a lot of their customers. We interviewed people who were customers, people who were longtime customers, people who were new customers, people who they tried to sell to and didn't get the deal. And so we talked to all these people, and there was a common thread, which was, strangely enough, that none of them actually cared about the flat discount. It wasn't the cost savings that was really their pain point, or the fact that telecom was expensive that was their pain point. The real pain point, it turns out, was the fact that they had employees that were spending an extraordinary amount of hours trying to weed through this. Time savings was more important than money savings. And that's the message that was going to matter. And so we get lost in those things as business owners, and we get lost in those details. And for a lot of us, just being able to kind of open our eyes and see what's really there is probably the biggest, sort of the biggest cheat code in marketing. It's the easiest way to figure out what you're doing wrong.
Oh, you mentioned 18 years ago you started the business, and you just gave an example of a challenge of kind of getting understanding of what's important to your client. So you help them go through a myriad of decisions, budgeting, measuring success, general decision making, and setting priorities, and what comes first and what's important. So with all of that
Yes.
today, what still motivates you to get out of bed and help some of us less fortunate business owners right
Uh,
our ship?
well, I'm not, I don't have any superpowers because I'm in the business. It turns out I do the same stupid stuff that everybody else does. And I've got to be talked out of it by my team. But, um, but yeah, the thing that really motivates me personally is the part where I get to work with people and I get to show them something about their own business that they didn't know before. And that's something that I personally really enjoy. There are other parts of the job that I know appeal to other folks um, that work with me, but for me, It's that part of being a Sherpa, guide, teacher, somebody that can show you the things that you're missing.
Cool. Now, given all your success, Erik, what's the biggest challenge that you guys face today?
Honestly, the thing that's always most difficult, and it's difficult for a lot of companies, and it's certainly difficult for us. All of these changes in the world, it's amazing how the world seems to always get bigger and smaller at the same time. And so just like a lot of companies, I mean, understanding how to best focus our time and energy, and what of those things as marketing evolves, as businesses evolve, as new business categories that never existed before come into being. What's the highest value that we can deliver, and what are the things that we should be saying yes to? What are the things that we should be saying no to? I think a lot of business owners struggle with that, and certainly we're no different.
Cool. Great answer. Now, Erik, tell my audience where they can find you. How do they get in touch with you and learn more about what you do?
Well, excellent. I would love to talk to people. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm just / Erik Wolf, ErikwolF. Our website is estound.com, ESTOUND. And you can buy my book, The Unified Marketing System, on Amazon.
Do you have a copy of the book there? You want to hold it up for us? Thank you. Here we have it. Oh, you're ready for The Price is Right. That was perfect.
That's right. And the correct answer would be $49.95 without going over. So with our Price is Right,
I love it.
But yeah, all of like our whole process is in that book. And so anybody that's interested in seeing how we approach marketing problems, it's step by step.
That's super information. And I'd like my audience to recognize that Erik's team is an award-winning team. They do a fantastic job, and reach out to him, and I'm sure he'll take very good care of you. I've really enjoyed this 35 minutes or so with Erik today. It's Erik Wolf, chairman and founder of Estound from Denver, Colorado. And guys, this is Karl McKinnie, co-hosting with Seth Green and Kevin Harrington. And we'll see you the next time. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks for having me.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.